and check for him, but I don't see him anywhere. Oh, there he is. He's sitting right in front of us. If he was a snake, as they say, he would have bitten me. So I'll just try and get down a little bit. But he is fast asleep at the moment. And he's in his usual spot that he seems to favor, which is just along the edge of the banks here and on the wall itself. I don't know why he likes it so much there, but he seems as though this is where he wants to spend his time. It was exactly the same place a few weeks ago, or a few days ago. He was lying really in the same way, just on the edge, and you can see he's still very relaxed. How we've missed him from far away, I have no idea. It just shows you their camouflage, because I was looking at the dam wall and I didn't see him until we got a little bit closer, and that's where he's sitting, just resting, and he looks fast asleep at the moment. But you can see no scratches on him anywhere on the rump area, so it seems as though him and Tumba just had a little face-off, investigated each other, a few snarls and hisses and growls, and to say, you're not my brother, you're not my relative, and I'm going to move on, and off I go. It was such an interesting interaction, though, between the two of them, because Tumba seemed to just really not care at all. He kind of saw Hosana approaching, and just carried on drinking. And then once Hosana got really close, then he started to display a bit submissively and kind of lie on his side and growl and hiss and show his teeth. But otherwise, they weren't too aggressive to one another. There was a bit of sniffing going on, and then they kind of chased each other around. So I think they're still in that young phase where they're not quite sure how to handle those interactions when they see one another, and when things get a little bit sort of hairy, and they just do what they're used to doing, which is chuffing and being submissive and keeping themselves alive that way. So it'll all change, though, once they start scent marking, and once they start to go into that adult phase and testosterone is flooding, then you'll find that they'll be far more aggressive to any opponent that they face. It might not be each other, but they will end up having to face off with some males somewhere, and you'll find that interaction will be a lot more aggressive and a lot more teeth and claws and all kinds of other things as they try and defend a territory or gain a territory first before they're defending anything. Some males have it easy. Some are like Quarantine, where he just bosses his way in, doesn't have to really fight with anybody. He just calls and scent marks, and there he is in position and has himself a territory. Others have to fight for it and earn the right to be territorial, and that takes a bit of time and effort, and so it's interesting just how the differences work between some of them. And so hopefully for Hosana and Tumba, I really hope either one of them that they get a nice territory and they don't actually have to worry about fighting too much, and they can get nice and settled and get big before they then actually start competing with other males. So that's what I hope. Chitwa, you say such a beautiful cat. Hosana is beautiful. He's looking ever prettier. I think he's starting to lose the cub look, but he's starting to gain that sort of steely male look that they get, the more serious look. But he's got a nice coloured coat. I always liked Hosana's coat. It's a yellowy colour, and it's not as gold as what you see on Tumba. Tumba tends to have a darker gold colour than what Hosana does, but I like the colour of his coat, and he's got these eyes that are becoming more vibrant by day, and he is a joy to watch. And lately he's been endearing himself a lot more to all of us by the way that he's played around and messed around and done his thing. He's been very entertaining to watch, that's for sure. I remember him the other day with the stick that he had in his mouth, and he was playing with the stick and biting it, and so he is a very cool cat. And like I say, wherever he ends up, hopefully it is in this area, but if it's not, somebody is going to inherit a very, very special little chief in their area, and hopefully he'll become the big chief somewhere close by, and if not here, so that we can monitor him and know where he goes and what he gets up to. Because it's the worst thing about having young males is that you kind of invest all this time and you get so sort of emotionally attached to them, and then they shift off, and especially when they go into places like Kruger, and the sightings and the updates on them become so slim and few and far between that it's almost frustrating in a way, because you want to know how they're doing and want to know how they're progressing. And so it's nice when they end up inside a Sabi Sand system or a Timbavati system where there's a lot of the commercial lodges that have constant updates on them. It really makes it a lot better. and a lot easier for us to kind of know, okay, well, they're doing all right wherever they are. And I think that's the hardest part. We know Mishu and Duna, Shivambalana, all of those have dispersed into Kruger, and the sort of updates on them are very few and far between. There's one every now and then, but it's not exactly commonplace to see them. It's not like now with Hosana that we see him probably have some sort of update on him every day. If we're not seeing him, we know exactly where he is, or somebody else is seeing him on another property, so we can work out exactly what's going on. But look at the size of that massive front paw. It's getting bigger, and that head as well starting to get a little bit of a dewlap forming. You can see his skin is starting to hang a little bit from the chin. So he is growing and slowly but surely becoming the male that he needs to be. And so while we watch Hosana, let's go back to Brent with his lionesses and see what they're up to. Completely sleepy, but he's woken up now. He's starting to groom himself. He's been yawning a little bit, so I think he's had a day of rest, and I wouldn't be surprised we're going to start getting going now. Hopefully it's not going to be southwards. I'm hoping he's going to start heading north. I wouldn't mind going on a hunting expedition with Hosana. It would be really nice to see him hunting again, and you can see there's a bit of sunlight now coming out, and look at how beautiful his colors look in that sunlight. He's getting that little bit of color coming through and a bit of grooming going on, and this is very typical of a cat that's prepping to move. So they groom, they get rid of any parasites that have gotten onto them, any loose fur that is developed through the day, get their coats in good condition. You can see he's cleaning between his toes there and making sure that they're all prepped and ready for the evenings, moving around and making sure that his feet are in good condition, like a little pedicure that he's going through right now, and making sure that he looks good and is healthy. So this is a typical sign before cats get going, and like I say, yawning coupled with this generally indicates that we're going to see some sort of movement in the near future. So hopefully, like I say, it's north and not south. I really don't want him to go down into Little Gari, because that will put a bit of a ruin or dampener on my plans this afternoon. I was hoping that we'd get here now and Hosana would start waking up, maybe have a little drink, and then from there start moving up the Mulawati and maybe go on a little hunting expedition. Lots of nyalas and bushbuck and impalas and steenbok and duiker in the actual Mulawati on my way down, so hoping that he'll head that way and do a little bit of hunting there. But isn't he beautiful? Very dexterous too, as well, by the way that he's able to groom almost on his own back, which is pretty amazing. So nice to see the way he does things. It really is a very pretty leopard, Hosana. What I was also amazed about is just the size between... Oh, there went a dove. A dove almost landed right in front of him. You could see he kind of turned his head a little bit. So the dove is just on the left-hand side there somewhere. I can't see where it's gone now, since I think it's flown a little bit past. But he saw a dove coming in and his eyes lit up for a second and then decided, nope, not going to have any of that. And then decided to carry on grooming. His older brother, Shivambalan, that's how he got his name, is by catching a emerald spotted wood dove, because that's what Shivambalana means. So that's where he was. He was doing exactly this, was busy grooming, and then a dove flew past and he just grabbed it out of nowhere. But how beautiful is the reflection in that greenish coloured water. Very, very pretty. Well done, Senzo. And this light is just getting better. It's almost starting to filter and become a soft yellowy light. You often get this after rain. You get this most wonderful light developing in the afternoons, and it was exactly what I was hoping for. So I'm sure Hosana is going to put on a wonderful show as he sits there and enjoys the last of the afternoon sunshine. Now, you can see he's now moved on from the front legs to the back legs and is doing the exact same thing, just grooming the toes, maybe a bit of sand in between there, keeping everything in check. And we'll stay with him and monitor whether he gets up and moves. But from one spotted cat in the sunset to another, let's go across to tail end a beautiful cheetah. Is having a game with a little Franklin that keeps running back and forth towards him. He's now lying flat, pretending like he's not interested, and the Franklin is running for its life. But just now the Franklin was actually coming straight towards him. There you go, you can see he's popped his head up now because the Franklin has run away, but the Franklin was walking straight towards him and he kind of hunched down and was trying to pretend like he was not interested, but I think he's quite upset that the Franklin has gone all the way over that side. But look at how majestic he looks on the edge of this water. He's really turning into a beautiful individual. He's watching the francolins on the other side of the dam. You can hear the francolins are chasing each other around. Larissa, you're asking if cheetah, lions and leopard males and females reach maturity at the same age, or does it differ between the sexes? Well, it's not that they reach maturity at different ages, it's that the opportunities to mate come at different ages. So a male lion, male leopard, even a male cheetah to a degree, they have to get stronger and big enough to be able to compete with other males, and that normally takes a little bit longer than when they're actually sexually mature and able to mate. If you look at something like a female leopard, she's already starting to mate at 2.5 years old. Even lionesses, 2.5, 3 years old, they can start mating, and they'll normally conceive their first cubs at around 4 years, or 3.5, 4, if they, sometimes a little bit earlier if they're lucky. But males generally don't come right with mating until they're around 4 to 7 years, depending on the individuals. There are anomalies, obviously, outliers on that scale, but generally the males only are able to mate at a much later stage. But look how serious he looks. Isn't he magnificent? Hosana, you are looking beautiful, my boy. He's very, very well fed. He's healthy. He's definitely growing by the day. He's starting to get a very wide, round face, thick neck, and the male leopard in him is starting to come out and blossom, and he's in his teenage years now, so he's going to start going towards that 2-year mark, and then once he starts to get to 3, 4, then that's when he's going to really put on quite a bit of size. And then when he gets dominant and that testosterone flush happens, that's when he'll do that last bulking up and then become massive. So hopefully he's going to be an impressive male, and I'm pretty sure he will be wherever he ends up. But he is looking as regal as one could ever want to see from a leopard. He's sitting beautifully for us at the moment, and he almost looks as though he's kind of surveying his landscape from his throne, which is Twin Dam's wall. It seems to have become his place. He loves spending time here and watching what goes on. There's varying different types of birds and animals and all kinds of things that come down to this section and drink, and so it's the perfect place for a leopard to spend their time. But isn't that beautiful? I think so. I think there's not very many things in this world that can rival a beautiful male leopard when it's sitting head up like that, legs crossed on the edge of a waterhole. It's a magnificent scene. We've even got a bit of cloud to add drama to our afternoon, so you can see that's kind of scene that we are looking at the moment, and it really is a beautiful one. But you can see now why I was saying it's difficult to spot him. You can see the camouflage when he's up against that wall. You'd think that yellowy color would really stand out, but as you can see from that, it doesn't. The spots actually blend into this mottled wall effect, and he can blend in very, very well. Beautiful though. Carsten from Denmark, you're asking if any of the big cats have the falling or landing on their feet part that domestic cats have. Yes, leopards, when they fall out of a tree, I'm yet to see a leopard land funny. They always generally land on their feet even when they fall, and lions to a degree. They don't really fall graciously, but they will land on their back legs or their front legs, or all 4 of them, but they generally don't land on their backs ever. They kind of twist themselves in the air and land on their feet. So it is the same with domestic cats as our leopards. They do, and lions, they do the same thing. Cheetah, I've never seen a cheetah fall out of a tree, so I wouldn't know, but leopards I've seen fall out many times, and they generally do land on their feet quite well. Unless, of course, you're Anderson male and you're dragging a carcass up a tree, and then you basically fall with the carcass. That throws you off balance, and you don't then land on your feet at all. You end up landing on your back and side. How he didn't injure himself, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Anderson male was videoed once taking an impala up into a tree, and he then fell for some reason. He fell out with the impala and landed in a heap at the bottom of the tree. So that wasn't ideal and not very elegant, but it's very seldom that we see things like that happening. Look at him just watching the water. Are you watching the terrapins? Maybe he's watching the little water boatmen that we've been seeing flocking past and swimming past, and he's intrigued by all of that. It's just a wonderful, wonderful sight to see him like this. You know, he's almost looking as though to say, where are all the animals that come and drink at this time of the day? It's not a hot day, so maybe the animals are not coming down, and he's going to have to be patient and wait a lot longer for anything to move into this area. So I'm just looking behind me to see if there is any impalas or anything drifting, but nothing for him at just yet. But I don't think he's going to be down for too much longer. I really do believe that he's going to yawn now, and I really believe that he is going to start getting up and going shortly. Maybe come down for a bit of a drink, and then he's going to start going. Now, Hosana is sitting patiently waiting, looking around, and he really doesn't seem to care too much about any of the other animals that we get in this area, but one animal that will be worried about running into other spotted predators like we had this morning is the cheetahs, and I believe Taylor's cheetahs are having a tough time. I am indeed. You can see he's done a little turnaround, he did a little pirouette, and is now grooming the other side of his body. So, oh, no, don't land there, bird. That's not the place to land. So there was a thick knee that came in. Oh, now he's going to play Harry Casual and just kind of lean back. Is that not... There's a thick knee that came flying in, so that's a water thick knee that we've got there with a white stripe on the edge of the wing, or on the wing itself. I'm just looking at Hosana, probably wondering, what are you doing? And she got a bit of a fright. It was about to land right where Hosana was, and then decided no against that. But you can't get much more gangster than that. He's got the gangster lean. He's leaning up against the bank. He's busy grooming himself. And he's looking super chilled with life. Now, a Nyala bull did come down just now and drank, and he kind of watched it, but I think he realizes a Nyala bull is just a bit too much for him to grab at this stage. It's also, he was in no position to be hunting anything from where he was. He had to have crept around the entire edge of the dam, which is near impossible actually at this stage. And given that it's so open here, that Nyala would have spotted him in 2 seconds, so he's not going to be able to do that. Hello, beautiful boy. Look at how wonderful his eyes are getting. They're almost going more orange by the day. They sort of lightening up, but going orange. It's interesting. You're starting to get an almost Lumula eye color. For those of you who don't remember, Lumula, he was a male that we used to see around Chitwa, Hoffman's, a little bit into Shirley's. I think he was once or twice seen on the live drives. I'm not 100% sure, but he might have been seen on Safari Live a few times. He had the most incredible orange eyes. And then there's the flat rock male, which has also got very similar eyes to what Hosana's got. So they're becoming very mesmerizing, those eyes. And it's amazing that our two young boys both have incredible eye colors. So Hosana's getting these orangey colored eyes, and then on the opposite spectrum you've got Tumba with these blue-green eyes, and they both are absolutely striking. When they look at you, it's quite something. They kind of both have this look that you get a bit mesmerized by them. So nice to see that both the boys are going to be good-looking lads later in life. So Lily is saying, how do I know who this leopard is? There are so many names. Well, Lily, the thing is that it's not so much, I mean, some people use spot patterns and will use certain markings to kind of indicate who exactly he is and how they tell him apart. So as far as I know, Hosana is a 3-3, but for me, spot patterns are helpful in the beginning, but once you see a leopard for a long period of time, you generally kind of get a sense of who they are by just what they look like. Much like you would recognize your cat or dog that you have at home, it's the exact same thing with these leopards. As we get to a point where we start to recognize them as individuals just because of spending a lot of time with them. So for me, Hosana's just got a certain look about him that I get, and I know in this particular section, the young males that we see here, it really can only be Hosana or Tumba, and they look very different, the two of them. Like I say, they have different colored eyes, so it's really quite simple to see him. He's got this kind of pinkish nose, orangey colored eyes, the 3-3 spot pattern, which is those spots over the whiskers, and that just helps to be able to work out exactly who they are. So there's a general kind of appearance for me is always more helpful than a spot pattern, because a lot of the time we see these leopards from far away and you can't see the spots from 20 meters. Even from here, I can't tell you how many spots Hosana's got on his face, but what I can tell you is that he's got the Hosana look about him, which is that pink nose, those orangish colored eyes, and that general sort of roundish face that he has. A very typical Kruger family face. They've got stout muzzles and roundy faces, and they are beautiful. Now, I was talking about Hosana's camouflage. The camouflage of that thick knee, oh no, it's now stood up, but it was sitting down, and I promise you it was impossible to see. It's a pity it's now gone down to the water. I'm hoping it will go back to where it was and sit down again, and I'll be able to show you exactly what I'm talking about. I think our Hosana is starting to wake up, but look at him grooming. I always love when leopards groom their paws like this, when they have their paw out in front and then you see that long pink tongue kind of go along the length of their paw. It always is a beautiful way to see them. Are you surveying your landscape, Hosana? I wonder if one day this will all be his. Imagine if it does. It would be interesting, that's for sure. It would definitely not be something that I would have expected. Lily asking what's happened to Kruger's territory and who should get it. Well, it's been quartered and divided and split up in chunks to all the females in the area. So at the moment, Tundi has made the most movement into Kruger's territory. She's now taken this whole southeast corner, even up, I suppose, into the central parts of Djuma now, and even northwards. The other day she was seen close to Buffelshoek Dam, so she's pushing quite far and taking that whole eastern section, and then Shadow seems to be taking the whole western section at the moment. So Shadow is being seen along on the western boundary, not as far north as what Tundi's been going, but still pretty much the western section is now Shadow's. So the two daughters have pushed in there, and then we know Shongile at one stage was moving around just on the northern section, and there we go, he's starting to think about getting going. Oh, just got to alleviate some itches when we're doing this. You can see a few dark clouds in the background. And interesting, the first insects that I've heard at night since we've been in the winter. It sounds like the cicadas are almost starting to call a little bit now. But look, there's a soft sand going up. So what have you got your nose in? There's a little hole there, and you see he's digging a little bit. I wonder what you found there, Hosana. How beautiful is that, though, him just creeping over the top of the dam wall, just checking, slinking over. And I wonder if he's just going to sit and give us a little look over his shoulder. It would be really nice if he did. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to just go back up onto the dam wall, because I want to be able to... Oh, look at that. I'll just stop there because he's looking over his shoulder. Isn't that beautiful? That is as good as it gets when coming to a leopard, that's for sure. The only thing that could be better would be if he just walked slightly across outside of those branches that we've got there and sat in a nice clean part of the dam wall. That would be the only other way that this could be any better than what it is right now. That is absolutely beautiful, especially silhouetted against that dark sky that we're getting on the eastern horizon. Almost looks like we might get some more rain now that there's some big dark clouds coming from the east, and so he's just kind of watching them. But that's the sky that he's under. Isn't that magnificent? Very, very pretty. And I think he's just watching and checking what's going on. Megan, quintessential. You see, you're using my words now, Megan. Slowly but surely we're teaching Megan the quintessential words. She makes fun of me because I use it so often. Itching again. A little itch between the shoulder blades. At least he can scratch his. It's not like us as people where we struggle to be able to scratch our itches that we have on our shoulder blades. It's really not ideal when we get those itches, but at least he's able to do it. Now I'm going to quickly shoot around because I think he's going to cross out of our traverse. He's going to head south, which means that we're probably not going to see him for too much longer. So I want to try and just get up and out as quick as possible and keep up with him and see the last of him going over. Try and get through this section without killing Senzo and myself. There we go. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Where are you, Hosana? Or are you going back now the other way? Well, it looks like it. Looks like he might head north now, which is good news. It means he might be heading deeper back into Djuma, or he could have just gone around the back of this vehicle and then will turn south from there. Although, where are you heading? No, he is turning north by the looks of things, which is fantastic. It means he's turning deeper into Djuma. So I'm trying to just cross this muddy little section, which is very bouncy, and I'm bouncing around all over the place. So there's a bit of a workout going over here for the old core muscles. There he goes, he's just going north. And that's great news, guys. This is perfect. This is exactly what we wanted. We wanted him to head north, because north, for us, means that we get to see him for longer. So fantastic. Now it's almost time where I'm going to have to get my spotlight out until we're able to put on our infrared. So we'll have to just use the spotlight for a little bit, because we don't have our infrared just yet. So there we go. So he's just crossing. Not just yet, he's looking around. He seems to be quite wary. He's obviously heard something that he's now listening to and just checking, but he must keep pushing northwards. He needs to go down into the Mulawati and northwards, and that will be much better for us than if he goes south. Where are you off to, Hosana? He looks as though he's a little bit kind of unsure which way he wants to go. There's a few Aramok babblers that are shouting at him. Hang on, he's creeping away and he's salivating as well. What have you seen, Hosana, that I haven't seen? He's seen something. Lou reckons it's Tumba that's here, so I want to go down and just see. We're going to let somebody else go in front because they haven't had a chance to go. And so I want to just have a look back here, because he's looking behind this damn wall. I wonder if Tumba's not here, or somebody else like Tundi. That could also be another leopard that could be around. But I'm going to go drop down into the drainage line and just see if he's going to pop that side. And it looks like he's heading down in towards the Mulawati, so I want to head into the Mulawati and just see if there's another leopard lurking that side. We also know Tingana, he could also be here, even though he was on in Koro and Cheetah Plains this morning. By now he could easily be in this direction given the weather that we've got. So I wonder just who is lurking, because all of a sudden there was a bit of salivating. He went into a very different position where he was kind of stalking lower, which is a little bit of a change. So I want to head around and see, and we know that there's been lots of alarm calls around here, lots of sort of audio for birds shouting, and also tracks for a young male leopard. So maybe Tumba, I don't know. It's going to be interesting nonetheless, because somebody is around that's causing Hosana to go into a very different sort of mode than what he was for most of the afternoon. He was kind of relaxed and ambling along, and all of a sudden just stopped, and then he started hunching down. And it's typical of either seeing a prey item or seeing or seeing another leopard. The salivating part generally means another leopard. Oh, come on, Wendy, off you go. Come on, come on. There we go. So we just had to get Wendy through the soft sand, and now she'll be okay, and she'll be able to maneuver through here just fine. Just checking, because I was driving here today and I wanted to see, looked like there was some sort of tracks inside my vehicle track, so I was wanting to see who exactly that was. But I've got spider webs all over my face, so I want to try and get rid of those quickly before we actually look at what these tracks are. Has he already crossed over? No, I don't think so. I think he's probably still on this bank. Oh, there we go. Who's that? There's a leopard there, but it looks like Hosana. No, there's another leopard here. I don't know who it is. Is this Quarantine? No, is that? Who is that? No, it's Hosana that's this side, but how did he get here so quickly? How did he run across so fast? I don't know if maybe there's another leopard, but here is Hosana this side. It's not another leopard, this is definitely Hosana. So I don't know how he got to here so quickly and why he's facing this way now. You book another Ingwe. This one is Hosana, but So I'm just asking the guys, but that is Hosana for sure. So how he got across, I'm not quite sure. He must have run across and now, I don't know, it's very odd because his behavior is also as though he's watching something this side now. I don't know. Yeah, he must be hunting something in this general vicinity. Either that or there's another leopard lurking around here somewhere, but he's kind of run across and now he's coming back again, so I don't know what he's seen. But it's definitely Hosana for sure. That is him through and through. I'll just light up his legs there, give him a bit more colour. What have you seen, boy? He must have chased something this way and missed. That's the only thing I can think of. Because for a second there, I wondered if maybe his older brother was around. Deer Watcher, you say he looks spooked. He does, doesn't he? He looks as though there's something going on, and I'm not 100% sure what's happening at the moment, but there's definitely something that's intrigued him, and like I say, either he's chased something over this riverbed and is now coming back, or he saw somebody else and went this way and checked. But I don't see any other leopards around here, and I'm not 100% sure. It's a mystery. What are you up to, Hosana? There always seems to be something going on with this cat when he's around. He seems to always have some sort of intriguing stuff happening. Look how beautiful he's looking though. He's really starting to fill out properly. That's why for a second I thought it might have been quarantine just because of how big he was. Cody, who's 6 years old, you want to know why he's got black around his mouth? Well, Cody, that's just how it is. It's unfortunately with leopards, they have these markings like this, and it's all there to help break up his face. So when I mean break up his face, it's when he's staring at an animal. He wants to be able to be as camouflaged as possible, so he wants to hide as well as possible, and those black markings help to match the light in the shade and make it very difficult for the prey animal to see him. So that's why he's got black in those areas, just to make sure that it helps keep him very well hidden from any other of the prey animals, and that he can then hunt and stalk. Well, I have no idea what he's doing. Maybe there's a duiker or a steenbok that's run this direction. He's now coming back to check, but he certainly watched something or ran after something down here, and who knows what it was, because if it was another leopard we would have found that they would have had a face-off. They wouldn't have dispersed as quickly as this. And look, now he's coming straight back towards us again. I'm just going to drop my light down as he walks towards us. You don't go southwards though, boy. You can see how relaxed he is though, just walking behind the car. Typical Hosana maneuver. Okay, but don't lie down like your older sister did the other day. I think he's moving down the riverbed though, and he is going to sit there. Right, I want to just try to get out of the way of the vehicle in front of me, so I'm going to just turn a little bit. Is he still close? Close. Is he close? Oh, we're not going to be able to turn. Not yet. He's still too close behind us at the moment. I thought he was a little bit further than what he is. He's literally right behind the car, and he's pulling the same stint that Tundi pulled the other day, where they sit right behind the car. I don't know why they like to do this, but for some reason, behind the car is where he wants to be. And so, is he going to go to the toilet? It looks like it. Don't go to the toilet in the tyre track, because then somebody's got to drive over that, and a bit of leopard dung in your tyres is never a pleasant experience. It smells quite a bit, and it seems to stick to the tyres, and so not very pleasant at all. What has he seen though? I don't know. He seems to be in a state of undecided whether it's toilet time or time to move on, but it can't be comfortable either way. Now I believe I need to link, I'm not sure to who, I've got no comms, so we'll go across to whoever it is, and hopefully it will be a beautiful sighting. We are still with him, and I don't know what he's up to. He's all over the place. Oh, and a big jump down the bank. Hello, big boy. What are you doing? He's like running around as though there's something that he wants and something that he's trying to hunt, but I can't see what it is. So I'm trying to just kind of reverse and stay with him, but he keeps moving up and down the bank. He's making it difficult for us to kind of predict where he wants to go. There he comes now, slowly but surely. He's heading kind of towards where we are. So there he comes. Look at that, he's almost like he's on the prowl. He is heading south, so we're not going to have him for, I reckon we'll have him maybe for another 5 minutes at the most. But I don't know what he has seen that he has decided, I want to hunt it, and he is chasing things, but we can't see what it is. I don't know if there's maybe a little rodent or something that he's seeing. I'm not sure at all. What are you watching, big boy? Beverly, you're asking if the spotlights are bothering him. I don't think so. He's used to the spotlights, so we'll go into infrared anyway, just to make sure that we can kind of keep him without having to worry about spotlights. But here he comes now, just walking down the road. And he's going straight into Little Gowrie within the next 5 seconds, I would say. It's really not going to be very long at all, unless he stops on this side. No, he's heading straight towards Little Gowrie now. I don't know what it's been all about this afternoon. He's kind of been, he went north, then he went south, then he went east, then he went west, and now he's heading towards the main road and out of our area. I'm going to try quickly. It's beautiful with him spotlit like that, isn't it? Roshni, you say leopards are a lot more active compared to lions. They are, and that's why I love spending time with them. The lions are amazing when they're active, but that's not that often. At least with the leopards, you know if you spend a bit of time with them, they will get active fairly soon, and you will end up with a really kind of interesting sighting at some point. But there we go, he's busy crossing into Little Gowrie now. Oh no, maybe not. Now he's scent marking, or at least going to the toilet, that is. You'll also see with the spotlights, just so that you were saying if they're worrying him, you can see we're not shining on his face, so we shine down on the ground in front of him and just kind of bounce the light up towards him and make sure that we're not in any way shining in his eyes. And so if he wasn't sure about the spotlights, he most certainly would avert his gaze from them, whereas now you can see he's really kind of not too concerned about it. So just shine in front and make sure that we don't shine into his eyes, and then everything's okay. And there he goes. That's now going to be our last views of Hosana as he disappears into Little Gowrie. So he came from there today, and well, now he goes back, and he's crossing exactly the same place that he crossed this morning coming in. So back down to the south and venturing into his territory that he had, well, not territory, but his area that he moves around down here. He seems to spend a lot of time down in the south in Little Gowrie these days, and so kind of bounces between the two, and you can see just how he's going to melt into the darkness as the range of the light gets too far. And so while Hosana slinks off into the evening and disappears into the thickets of the Sabi sands in Little Gowrie, we were talking about cats being active and lions not as much as the leopards, but it seems Brent's lions are up and moving, so let's